We just got a connection with Admiral Brett Giroir. He's the former coronavirus testing czar. And, sir, if you can hear us and you've got the news, I see you right now, sir. Thanks for joining us. And Dr. McCary is suggesting that everything's going to be okay in the end. He's getting the right treatment. How do you view this in the early stages, sir?
I think we need to be quite careful because the president is at advanced age. He also has underlying health conditions, including atrial fibrillation. He's had previous aneurysms and strokes. So I would be cautious. I wouldn't be so rosy, potentially, as Dr. McCary, that everything's going to be fine. He is at risk. The other issue I would say is that Paxlovid is obviously a very good drug, but it has drug-drug interactions with many of the drugs I believe the president is on, including blood thinners or anticoagulants, and it could cause dangerous changes in that. So I'm sure the White House medical unit is on this and is monitoring that, but that is one issue with Paxlovid in addition to the rebound that I would watch for with the president.
That's an interesting note. I mean, it is early on, and according to the White House doctor, he's just been administered this antiviral. What is the risk, to Dr. Marty McCary's point, if he's only experiencing mild symptoms, like I believe we were just reporting that he's experienced fatigue, which is involved in many of the cases. What's the risk to administering the antiviral if it isn't absolutely necessary based on the symptoms?
Well, you have to look at the risk. For Paxlovid, again, it's a very effective drug, but the main risk is drug-drug interactions. In other words, what Paxlovid does to the other drugs you're on. And there is a dangerous drug-drug interaction with blood thinners. And again, I'm not the president's doctor, but with his conditions, I believe he could be on them. But the White House medical unit, this would be something I'd ask them. Are they concerned about that? I don't think there's many other risks. The other drug, molnupiravir, can be given with those other drugs. So I'm sure the White House medical unit will be looking to that. But I would definitely have the president on an antiviral drug, either Paxlovid or molnupiravir. These were authorized in patients who were not vaccinated because that's the way the trial was done. But there's every reason to believe that Paxlovid or molnupiravir would reduce the viral load in any patient, and certainly with someone elderly and at high risk, I would have them on an antiviral, one of the two. So I think it's very appropriate what they're doing with the president.
We want another doctor to join our conversation here. Admiral, hang with us here. Dr. Mark Siegel, you're listening to this, and we just put the conditions up on the screen from Dr. Jha. Paxlovid started now. Symptoms: tired, runny nose, dry cough. Went to bed, felt fine, didn't sleep well, tested positive this morning. Does that sound like a typical case to you?
Very typical, Bill, for this Omicron subvariant. He probably has the BA.5, which we're seeing a lot of. Severity about the same, mostly upper respiratory, that dry cough, that fatigue, all fits that. The one thing I want to emphasize and agree with the Admiral on is this. 79 years old with heart disease, atrial fibrillation. He may have mild symptoms, but that can turn into more severe symptoms later on. Quickly, actually. He had the booster, the fourth shot, but he had it in March, and it only tends to last powerfully for about a month or two, then starts to wane. So the idea of giving Paxlovid in this case, to me, would be almost automatic and really smart. And in terms of Paxlovid rebound is concerned, there's no reason to believe at this point that the drug is causing that. It may actually be the virus coming back. So in some cases, and Dr. Fauci had this, you give a second round of Paxlovid. I've been giving that to a lot of patients. Very smart idea because he's at high risk. You don't want to wait till somebody gets very sick here. I agree with the Admiral.
Okay, well, but what about what Admiral Giroir said about the medications he's currently on and the possibility they could counteract with Paxlovid or others, antivirals?
Also a really good point, and for sure the White House doctors are on this. Bill, I'm sure they're going to have him stop his cholesterol-lowering drug. You do not take a statin drug when you're on Paxlovid. As far as the Eliquis, the blood thinner he's on for atrial fibrillation, he should be able to continue that, but they're going to look at that very, very carefully because actually COVID itself can cause problems with blood clots, so you want to watch that. But they'll go over every medication he's on and see if there's an interaction. At this point in the game, we are very familiar with this, and it's a knee-jerk situation about what to stop. But, Bill, you only have to stop it for the 5 days that you're on the medication. Then you restart it again.
Got it. Siegel, thank you. Admiral Giroir, back with you now. I mean, we're really fortunate to have the expertise of both of you right now. And Admiral, I just wonder, 2.5 years down the road here, we've come a long way. When you think about the reaction now as compared to, wow, the dark days of March 2020.
Well, it's remarkable the tools we have. The virus has been very formidable. We know the different variants that are evading the immune system. But look, the vaccines do help protect the president. It doesn't protect very well against getting the virus, but it does provide some protection against hospitalization and deaths. Testing is ubiquitous. I just looked this morning. There are about 800 million tests available this month in the United States based on the work we did in the Trump administration. Home tests, rapid tests, molecular tests, they're all there. And very importantly, and something I think that we've underemphasized, is the treatments. Paxlovid and molnupiravir are both highly effective. And when we get to a point where we are now, even though you've been vaccinated and even though you could be tested, people at risk need to be treated with antivirals. So we have enormous weapons right now that have been developed against this virus. It's still an ongoing battle, but I think the president epitomizes and is an example of everything we should be doing, monitoring symptoms, testing, and getting those at risk treated.
Dr. Giroir, going back to your initial word of caution that this is still early on. He just began the antiviral. He's very early on in symptoms, it appears, just experiencing them for the first time this morning. The White House doctor saying he went to bed last night feeling fine, tested positive this morning after those mild symptoms. Based on all of that, what would your recommendation be for someone of his age and risk category? Because the White House is saying that he's going to continue working in full capacity, participating in meetings, Zoom meetings. He is not going to back off, the White House says, any of his daily obligations as the President of the United States. Would you recommend more rest for someone of his age and risk category?
So let me first say I have the highest respect for the White House medical unit. We work with them on a daily basis, supplying tests and understanding protocols and working with President Trump. As Jerome Adams says, we're different, but we work together. I would just be very careful with the president. Look, we all want him to recover. We need him to have continuity of leadership, but I wouldn't rush it. He really is at a high-risk group with his age and underlying conditions. And he should feel free to take it easy, right? Many of us have had COVID. You don't feel well. I would say caution is what I should do, and he should only do what he really feels like doing. And remember, it's still important to get plenty of fluids, to have proper nutrition, all those kinds of things, because all these things can snowball into side effects. So I would be cautious.
Thank you, sir, so much for your expertise.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Doctor.
you coming on. One last thing here. The symptoms started yesterday, so that was Wednesday. I did not anticipate that breaking news. Great to be with you. Harris is going to continue our coverage right now. Here's the Faulkner Focus.